Hey guys, welcome to McDaniel Motorsports YouTube channel. This is the first of very many videos we're going to produce for you guys. Show you how we do things here. We pride ourselves in doing everything we can just to save money and keep the quality that McDaniel Motorsports expects. Our test vehicle today, or our subject rather, is a 2022 Can-Am Maverick XRS, and we're going to set it up to run in the sand. And I'm going to tell you why we do the things that we do along the way to help you understand our mission. So today we're going to be installing Beadlock wheels and a set of sand tires that are specifically for this car. And we hope you enjoy the video. So as I said earlier, this is our 2022 Can-Am Maverick XRS. For those of you guys who don't know these cars very well, this is considered higher powered of the UTV class. It's got a 72-inch wide stance. It makes 22 inches of travel in the front and 22 inches of travel in the rear. That's suspension travel. It's got a 900cc turbo engine. It's a triple cylinder and it makes 200 horsepower at the crank. It's a blast to drive, let me tell you. If you get a chance to drive one of these, take it. Even if it costs you a little bit of money, I promise you it'll be worth every penny. So if you're serious about performance with your UTV, most people don't realize it's not that exhaust, it's not that ECU tune. Well, to some degree. A lot of people would argue that. But in our opinion, the best mod for the seat of the pants feel is a wheel and tire setup. A lot of the rotating mass, unsprung weight is a huge factor in these little cars. Yes, this car makes 200 horsepower. However, every little bit of weight counts in these cars. Even a passenger can change the whole dynamic of the way the car handles. So we pride ourselves in thinking inside the box and going to the simplest form of making your car go fast and handle the way you want it. So if you're real serious about it, we go to OMF Performance. They're in Riverside, California. They make, in our opinion, the best wheels money can buy. And you'd be surprised at the pricing. Don't let all the jewelry scare you. You can get these wheels for cheaper than a lot of the wheels out there that are stamped out and only come in a couple different sizes. These wheels were spec'd by me personally, along with the help of Bones, who's been there a long time at OMF. He's the guy to speak to. Tell him Chris sent you. So what we have here is an NXG2 wheel. Again, custom spec dimensions for us. This is our rear wheel. This is a 15 by 10 and it's a 5+5 offset. And it has the drains in the beadlock. This is a true beadlock, folks, not one of those fake deals you see going down the freeway. And the center plate here, the beauty of this is you can change brands, keep these wheels for a long time, and if you decide to go with the Polaris or jump back to a Yamaha, you can change this inner plate and you can change the design and the lug pattern for a lot cheaper than you would expect. Now I'll come over here and I'll show you how beadlocks work. So this is how a beadlock works. You have your wheel barrel here, this is what we call it, and then you have your outer beadlock ring. This is a single beadlock wheel. You can actually get dual beadlocks if you want that extra hugging strength on the inner bead. However, we don't feel like it's worth the extra unsprung weight in the stuff that we do as far as driving. So how this works is that you have an outer plate, which is the beadlock ring, and set this aside. And you can see on the wheel here, you got knurling here. So this knurling, while it's not completely necessary, it does aid in keeping the wheel from spinning, keeping the tire from spinning on the wheel. So that beadlock ring clamps down on the outer or the inner of the rubber, and it holds it. You can actually see the knurling on the beadlock ring itself too. So that's just added insurance that the tire is not going to spin on the wheel. And what you can see is that they actually cut the outer lip off the wheels, and they actually weld these beadlock rings onto the actual wheel itself. So the tire lip fits in this groove all the way around, which we're going to show you here in a second, and it has to seat properly. So you want to make sure that this surface is completely clean and free of debris, because we are holding air here. So it's just amazing, the quality of these wheels. They're like jewelry. Sorry, I'm just excited. I just got these yesterday. So the tires that we've chosen for this particular car have been tested through and through, and what they are is they're Scat Track brand. They're 32 inches tall by 13.5 inches wide, and they're for a 15-inch wheel. This is the Demon Cup size, and it's a 10 paddle. So before I start putting this together, I want to caution you that when you put the rear paddles on your car, it's important that they get clocked, and we'll show you what we mean by clocked. A lot of people overlook that. I see cars on trailers going down the road. It's hard to see them in the sand, but what I mean is you want these paddles, both driver and passenger side, to be in the sand at the exact same time. Now, the car is still going to move forward if they're off. However, don't you want it to be efficient? Don't you want the car to move as fast as it possibly can with the least amount of energy possible? Yes, of course you do. You're at McDaniel Motorsports. So when you're installing these tires, it's important to use a real simple solution of water and heavy dish soap. That's all this is. There's tire soap out there that a lot of the tire shops use, but if you're in a pinch at home like we are, water and dish soap, man. It's real easy. And you also want to think forward before you start mounting these things up. Which way are the paddles going? A lot of people have made that mistake, putting these things on backwards. And I've actually seen guys go to tire shops and they put them on, and they go to put them on their car, and even the tire shops made the mistake and had them flipped around. What a heartbreaker. But save yourself some time and think about it. Think before you do something. It's really important. Time is always of the essence here. So I'm going to do a little lubrication here just to get it past that first lip. More is better. And you'll need a tire iron sometimes. These 15-inch wheels, sometimes they just go right on, sometimes they fight you a little bit. So, and I'm sure this one's gonna fight me. So you can see it going on. You want to get it started and just finesse it on. Hey, how about that? What do you know? It's my lucky day. So what I like to do with the paddles especially is find a landmark on your wheel, and you want to line the tire up with that landmark. And it's also going to be keyed with the wheel on the hub itself. So what I mean by that is the hub bolts don't change. When you put them on the car, they're going to be indexed to whatever your hub position is. So you want to make sure, especially for clocking, that you're finding a spot, and in this case it's important to find a paddle that you're indexing with something that's fixed and it's not going to change. Hopefully that makes sense. But you can, okay, we've got the rear wheels mounted up on the car. As you can see, the tires are loosely placed on the wheels so we can orient them in any way we want. What's important here And I believe this is one of the most important things performance-wise for mounting sand tires. Is when I talk about clocking, what I mean is when these paddles are in the sand and you want them to be in the sand at the same exact time. And it's just really for efficiency. Again, the car will move still, it just won't be as efficient. So what I do is I put both back wheels on, put the tires on the wheels, and so you can orient the paddles however you like. Now, the reason why you have to do this is because if you mount the tire on the wheel and you use a reference point on the wheel, that'll actually put you off, and here's why. The reason is because the hub can actually be indexed on the axle splines in numerous different orientations. So if you were to align this tire without the car, say using the valve stem, you come over to the driver's side, see how the valve stem is lined up with this paddle? Come over to the driver's side and you can see that this valve stem is way over here, and we're trying to orient the paddle with the axle itself. So clearly this hub was installed at the factory without the index being exactly the same as the passenger side. So that's why this is so important. Alright, so here we are. We've clocked our paddles on the car. Super important. What I've done is, instead of getting the tire and the wheel from the car to the table, it could move. So what I did was I took a paint marker and I marked the orientation of the tire to the wheel right here. So when you're putting these tires on the wheel, don't worry about the inner bead right now. We can worry about that later. But the most important thing here, and I'm going to keep saying the most important because all of this stuff's important, but you want to make sure the tire is seated squarely in this ridge here where the knurls are. Obviously it'll capture the tire and it'll keep the bead square. Not square, but round, you know what I mean. And so once you've got that tire in that groove there and you're sure, because it's important, take your ring, it's preloaded with fasteners just to save some time. And my OCD kicks in with stuff like this. So I'm going to share with you that I like to take the puffy stickers and oppose them. Not real important, but those of you like me who like the exact certain way, it's important. Put these guys in. Now, OMF drills these holes in these beadlock rings a little bit big. And the reason is because once you get these fasteners snugged down, there's two steps. There's a torque method of seating the ring on the tire and making sure you have the right amount of clearance around this lip on the inside of the wheel. You want to have about 1/8 of an inch reveal, meaning this beadlock ring should be standing over the inner wheel lip about 1/8 of an inch around the whole wheel. That's how you know it's centered. That's straight from my man Bones at OMF. So now that we've got the ring in place, we'll start. And this is really important as well, is you want to run these fasteners in by hand first before you start tightening, especially before you get that impact out. Just resist the urge to use your impact until you know it's safe. Trust me. Now, these wheels have steel inserts. So the bolts actually, instead of threading into a dissimilar metal, which is aluminum versus steel, a lot of wheels on the cheaper end will have just threads cut into the aluminum lip of the wheel. These wheels are superior because they have steel inserts inside here, which are far more durable than the aluminum threads. And I don't care how much anti-seize you use, they will pull out eventually, especially when you get some sand in there, dirt, rocks, debris, whatnot. It's going to ruin your day. So just take your time, and if you can afford a wheel with steel inserts, I would highly recommend it. So get these guys seated in, or threaded in rather. Seems like. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. So just back it out, start it over. Check the thread of the bolt. Blow out any debris. Don't force it. You will be sorry. Alright, so we've got our beadlock ring on. I've got the fasteners snugged down. By hand first, run them in, make sure you got plenty of threads engaged in the bolt. Before you start making a pass with the torque wrench, you want to go around the wheel and make sure, like I said, these holes are slotted on the beadlock rings. And not slotted, they're just a little bit oversized. And you want to make sure the reveal around the tire is uniform over the whole thing. And then the other important part is you want to make sure the ring is taller than the inner flange of the wheel by about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So you just run your finger around there. You don't have to measure it or mic it. You can kind of get a feel for it. But again, the reason why they make the holes bigger is because this beadlock ring is actually going to flex in, and so this gap right here is going to close up, and the outer edge of the beadlock ring is actually holding the rubber, which is obviously taller, thus creating a clamping force around the tire itself, preventing it from spinning on the wheel. So got them all seated down, and I didn't use a torque wrench, or I'm sorry, I did not use an impact gun. Resist the urge. Trust me, it's just worth the extra 15-20 seconds to just run them all by hand. So the first round, we're going to go to 12 foot-pounds. Alright, so we've made our first pass to 12 foot-pounds on the beadlock ring. Gone around really slowly, doing it in a clockwise manner, crisscross, just like tightening a wheel in a car. Now I'm going to bring it down to 20, but before I go to 21, the torque spec is actually 20 to 22 foot-pounds. So that's the final beadlock ring tightening torque spec. So before I'm going to continue that, I want to just reiterate to you, just make sure the reveal around the outside of the beadlock ring is the same around the whole tire. And then again, we're looking for about 1/8 of an inch around reveal here for the beadlock ring to stand up and over the inner flange of the wheel. So again, I'm going to go for another round of torque, and enjoy. Alright, so now it's time to air up the tire. And I know we already lubed this up with water and soap, but it's always a good opportunity to do it again. It'll just help seating the bead on the tire. And the last thing you want to do is have it bind up during air up, and you just want it to be seated nicely and smoothly. Nobody likes a good pop, because these things do pop and it's a little scary. Because of the fitment is so good with this tire, I don't think we're going to need to remove the valve core. But there's actually a little tiny valve in all valve stems, and it's referred to as the valve core. And if you're a lot of tire shops, maybe you've seen when they air up a tire, a regular tire or conventional wheel, they'll actually remove the valve core, and the reason they do that is to do a huge burst of air to actually inflate the tire instead of leaking. So if you do it slowly, it'll basically inflate slowly. And sometimes these tires require a good burst of air to get beaded up. So in this case, I think the fitment is good enough to where we won't need to. So I'll let you watch the seating process while I do this. And do this with caution, because bad stuff has happened. So just make sure you're not putting yourself at risk in the position that you do this in, because wheels have known to explode. Sure the tire's inflating. Don't want to exceed 25 psi. Most tires will have that rating on the side, just for your safety. It's always a little scary. After you do enough. But you can see that the tire has actually beaded. Looks like we got a little bit of leakage going on there, but it will seal, I hope. Check the air along the way. Just make sure you don't exceed that rating that's on your tire. Every tire is different, so I'm only at 6 psi, so we're still safe. Check that. Looks like we're at 10. And the bubbles have stopped. And that's what we're supposed to look like. Nice looking wheel, if I do say myself. All right. We have the rear wheels on the car, and as you can see, the paddle that mark that I put on the tire is in line with the 12 o'clock paddle, and the 12 o'clock paddle is in line with the axle. There's a little bit of slack in the drivetrain, but don't worry about that. It's real minimal. So that's real important. And then you can see over on the driver's side, also, my mark is here, in line with the paddle, in line with the axle. So that, my friends, is what clocking paddles is all about. And on the contrary, you have the bottom paddles that are in the sand at the same exact time. All right, so when you're torquing your lug nuts, every time you use an extension, this will actually act like a torsion bar. And so this will actually skew your torque settings just slightly. I forget what the formula is, but it has to do with the length of the extension and the thickness, obviously. But if you're worried about it, just go, I'd say 1 pound over your torque spec setting. A lot of the wheel manufacturers will not give you a torque spec just because they're afraid of liability reasons. So you always want to consult your owner's manual for your appropriate torque spec. That's the safest place to get it, and you can get it with conviction, and it's written somewhere. So real important, torque your wheels when they're new, especially after the first drive. Come back, check them again with the torque wrench. Super important. And you're going to do a crisscross pattern, and again, sneak up on your torque spec. Seat the wheel first. Don't go all the way to the torque spec. Just seat the wheel, seat the lugs in the hole in the acorn portion. Seat them down first. Don't just go right to your torque spec. So you've seen I've hit all 4 lug nuts, but now that I've seated them, I'm going to go to the first torque spec here, and I'm sneaking up on it. Don't go jamming on it. Hit it twice, go to the opposing side, sneak up on it, and I'm holding this handle because if you just torque on the edge of it, you could possibly shear off a stem, and you don't want to do that. It's a huge pain. Sneaking up on it, hit it twice. Sneaking up on it. Okay. And I'm not going to the torque spec right off the bat. Let's seat the lug nuts. 4 of them. Okay. Alright guys, we got the wheels and tires on the car. We've rolled it back and forth to let it settle down. As you can see, it came out pretty good. Alright guys, thanks for watching our video. We appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a buddy. If you know he's struggling with his wheels, or if you just want a little bit more information, or if you want to push him into buying some expensive stuff, by all means, feel free to share. Thanks for watching.